What's up, Yordan? How you doing?
Hey, I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
Good, man. Good. Last time I saw you was a few months ago. I think it
Yeah, I
was.
think in May. Yeah,
Yeah,
May.
yeah, in London, of all
Yes.
places, actually. So, but you're not from London.
No, I'm not. I'm from Bulgaria, Eastern Europe. Yeah, I live in the middle of nowhere in a very small village, not even,
Okay.
in a big city or so.
What is the size of a village?
What do you mean?
Like the size of where you live? Like what do you mean by like a village? I'm just trying to understand that because we don't have villages in the U.S. I don't think we
Yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah. So it's almost like a small town, but we have like 1,000 of people of
Okay,
population. So it's tiny. We have multiple houses, pretty like just like a tiny tiny town really.
got it. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I think in the U.S. they're just towns or something like
Yeah,
that. So
yeah, I
I
suppose
drove through
so.
one the other day that was I was in Wyoming, and the town's population sign said 64 people.
Wow.
Why bother with the sign? But okay, it's actually kind of fun. Well, that's cool. I guess to kick things off for people who don't know who you are, do you want to give a quick intro?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the head of data engineering for a at a bookkeeping company, bookkeeping automation company. I lead a small team of data and analytics engineer, and I've been in the tech industry overall for the last, I don't know, 15, 16 years, something like that. Started as a, software engineer, pretty boring, then jump into data, and I love it really.
Oh yeah, what do you love about data?
What I love, it's the combination that you can talk to actual people, not just building websites or something like that, but also you can use all these knowledge that you have about software, about it's complicated. It's very, very complicated, really. It's not like most other software engineering areas, but it's also not just software engineering, I guess. So that's why.
Yeah. How did you move from software to data?
It just happened, really. Uh, I've always liked challenges and experimenting with different things. And when somebody at the company I was working for, somebody said, "Hey, you know what? We need this event tracking thing. Let's experiment with it." So hopped into that, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. So yeah, back then it was BigQuery. BigQuery was just becoming big, so to speak. GitHub
Hmm.
open source their data, so it was quite exciting.
Around what year was that?
2017, I suppose,
Okay.
2016.
Yeah. That's about when data engineering started becoming like a thing, like kind of in the modern sense. I mean, I think the first usage of the term data engineering I actually trace it back to I think it was 1984 actually. 84 they had the at this data engineering conference, but then it sort of died out for a bit. But okay, anyway, it's a bit of a
Yeah.
sidetrack in history. But yeah, the modern parlance, you're sort of the I guess one of the early crop of data engineers coming into the scene. Then, if you would have started then, so that's cool.
Yeah, I was actually working, as a data engineer, so to speak, over a year and a half before I understood. Somebody told me, "Hey, you know what? You're a data engineer." Before that, I was just considering myself like, a programmer.
Yeah, you're like, what'd you call me? That's cool. So what is your day to day like right now?
Nowadays, I code just a bit, mostly meetings really, but I experiment a lot with different technologies, different tools, talk a lot to different people in the business, but nowadays really a lot, as most people really in data, a lot of AI.
Hmm.
We have people whose role is just to look into what we can use AI for. So I need to help them experiment with all these infrastructure things, and again different technologies, talking to those business stakeholders, understanding exactly what they need, because oftentimes they don't really know. And if they talk to people who focus too much into the technological stack, there's this big gap of understanding really. But it's mostly, I would say, all of these things. uh,
Interesting. So what are you gonna say?
I was going to say that when it comes to coding, I find myself coding less and less, mostly because I suppose things like cursor and different tools now are kind of code for me, so I don't really need to code if you wish.
It's a weird spot we find ourselves in, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether I like this or not. Like, I mean, it's cool, but also I can see how people, including people in my team, oftentimes they just use things without understanding why, and what happens under the hood. So that's something I struggle a lot with. You need to train people to use this just as a tool and mostly understand all the process to have understanding of the process behind the scenes, really.
Now, are you talking about like coding tools, or are there
Coding
other tools?
tools, but also, the coding product, the AI product, if you wish, because
Mm.
people just take it and use it.
Yeah, like people on your team, or people in the business as well.
Both, really, yeah,
Both.
both,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what have you seen then? People who were once maybe it sounds like what you're saying is you've seen people who were maybe more methodical or in the work now relying more on AI and not kind of skipping steps. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yeah, that's
Okay.
spot on. It's exactly like that. They see it as a shortcut, which is great. It is a kind of a shortcut, but that means they don't they trust it too much. They don't trust themselves that much. So that's why I'm,
Mm.
a bit concerned because in the long run, what would happen really? I don't know.
It's a question I've been thinking a lot about too. I think, as I said it before in public, I think it might be the next book I work on is more kind of the general, like, what does this all look like in terms of what's the craft, what are skills, what's competency in the world where all the work can seemingly be done for you. What's the point of knowing anything at all or knowing how to do something? I think this is a question we're all finding out because you're absolutely right, though. It's not just engineers. I think all too often we're focused on what we're doing with coding tools and so forth. And, um, and we can get into what all that looks like in detail. Uh, yeah, I mean, I was talking to my lawyer the other day, and he was showing me. It was interesting because he's showing me in law. It seems like every day somebody's getting busted by a judge for using AI to write summaries or briefs or whatever for the case, and these people get berated by the judge for making up cases that never existed, making up citing laws that don't exist. It's one of these things where I feel like, yeah, it has become too easy. Practice like law, you would hope your lawyer is thinking about these things. I mean, for God forbid, if I found my lawyer, I don't know if he listens to this, but yeah, if he was using ChatGPT and just writing stuff on my behalf and sending it out and not checking it over at least, like that would be a bad thing. But he's saying like a lot of people, you can tell when people use the AI too in law because the language isn't lawyer like. There's a lot of adjectives. He said there's a lot of words that are just filler words that don't need to be there. It's a bit too happy, the text is. And so he's noticing weird things like that. But then we got just thinking about, it saves him time, but at the same time, it does make him wonder if it makes him a worse lawyer actually sometimes. So
I think that's really it. I have a friend who I play games with a lot, and he's a prosecutor. He says exactly the same thing.
interesting.
Yeah, they have a lot of these cases, especially when they read documents, really.
Mm. What are you finding? How has AI impacted your code writing? You said you use it, but what have you noticed that's changed?
Ooh, I find myself forgetting how to code really. When I need to actually code, right? It helps you a lot, but when you need to do things by hand, it's you're like, oh, you know what? How was that? How was that construct? What was that language? What if I want to do something specific? It could be with code, it could be with anything really. I can definitely see, even with, newsletters and stuff, who people who I talk to a lot, and they mention they use AI extensively, and I know they're good writers. Now they struggle, they just block. So it
They block when they're
definitely,
trying to write.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it definitely, I think it affects everything, every aspect of, no matter what you do really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think uh well, it's like anything else really, it's good to use it, but it's also the best thing you can do is to hone your own skills as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Like I force myself to write every morning. about 500 to 1,000 words, like on my own, not using an LLM, right? What I do though is I do feed that into the LLM and say, okay, what do you think? Maybe tighten it up even, right? Let's see what it looks like. And so I think that's good. But I think you want to keep working that muscle of writing, especially because writing is thinking, right? And so if you just say, well, just write me an article, like you didn't do any of that actually. And so that, and same with coding. Like, I mean, you could, especially with Claude Code or similar tools, you just can just basically, just hit auto enter actually. It'll just don't even need to hit anything. Just have it just automatically
Yeah.
accept every suggestion and it will build whatever it builds, I guess.
Yeah. But
So
I really like your point about writing. What was that? Writing is
it's
no,
thinking.
is thinking. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I often say the same thing to my team and my audience because, when you work on a new project, let's say, most people what I've seen is they just think through it and jump into the project. Again, it could be data engineering, could be anything. Whereas in my case, what I always teach everybody is I open I don't know, maybe even a Google Doc or something like that and start writing all my, basically dump my brain, all my
Hmm.
thoughts. So it helps a lot. It helps you a lot
Oh yeah.
about thinking, about asking yourself questions and so on. So I
Hmm.
definitely think it's important. It's a massive power.
Oh yeah. And even I'm kind of a nerd. I have this app, Mental Math, that I've had actually since I think when I got my first iPhone, maybe my second one, like 2008 or nine. It hasn't gone off my phone because every day I'll just go through and just do like quick arithmetic problems
Oh,
just to
that's
keep that
nice.
part sharp, right? Like just I don't know. Let's see what it has here. Well, 97 times 1 is 97, but like um yeah, 62 times 5, right? So it's like 300 plus 10, 310. Yeah. So I mean, it's just one of those things where because if you're on your own, you kind of want to be able to figure things out quick. I think the worst thing, and I sometimes find myself doing this too. I'd love your take, but like grabbing the chat bot or whatever, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever, and just talking with it, automatically looking for answers instead of just sitting there and just think about it for a second.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
that feels like a dying art.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't know. It's concerning, really. That's really it.
Uh huh.
Because yeah, I don't know. I can definitely see it with my kids, for example. Now they
Mm.
just use AI, they use tools, and if you ask them to think about anything, I don't know. Everything is too easy, I'd say, if you wish.
How old are your kids?
The oldest one is 15, but the youngest one is 5, so they're three. I have three daughters.
Oh, cool.
Big difference, but they're all like, they grow up now with all of these things. So yeah, I don't know. Let's see what will happen with.
Well, I mean, my son's your oldest daughter's age, my oldest kid, and he the other day I was helping him with his math homework. Well, actually, he didn't want me to help him, and I figured out why real quick. So he was, it was just algebra, right? And he was taking the equations. So in this case, it was just simplifying equations, right? Taking the equations and just putting them into Google and getting the answer and putting it down as homework. And I said, you can do that as long as you can show me that you know how to do this
Yeah.
for each problem. So we're going to go back through each problem and we're going to sit here and you're going to do it by hand. And I'm going to check your work. And we're going to use AI to maybe check the work too. I I mean, I used to do math. I can do these pretty easy. And so but it was interesting because when we started doing them, he didn't know actually. He couldn't figure out probably, I don't know, a third of them. Which one, like, you don't get to do this until you understand what you're doing. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, so I put the kibosh on put a stop to the use of the just copy pasting because all of his friends do that. They just want to get through the homework assignment,
Yeah,
right? But I
exactly.
said, look, if you when it comes test time, you're not gonna be able to solve it, right? And the stuff, and the thing is with math, especially math is foundational. So like, if you can't figure this out and you get to calculus and then to pass calculus, if you don't understand these basic building blocks, you're completely screwed.
Yeah, math is a very interesting area, really, because most people, including my kids, I mean, in school, they think the schools teach them math just because they need to know how to calculate. But the thing is, math is there because we study it because we need to learn how to think really. So yeah, it's not about. I don't think it's about the actual. If you use, I don't know, a calculator, a computer, or anything else. Yeah, as you said, it's about you have the proper thinking process really. So it's the same with in every area really.
Oh yeah.
It's not just math.
Well, the calculator is a good example. Like my kid was using a calculator to figure things out, but he didn't know how the keys worked on it, right? Like exponents and stuff, because he's still pretty new to this. And I was like, okay, if you don't, like, I'm gonna keep checking your work because you're gonna keep messing this up. You're gonna keep putting the wrong thing in, you know. And that's just it. Like, and if you don't know what to look for, if you thought like even something simple like three squared was like four or something, right? You would, if you didn't know how this works, you would mess it up. So it's you got to know the basics, And even then, I would say keep going back to doing it manually once in a while, like coding or writing, just because it feels like if you can keep that skill at least intact, then I think it makes you better at practice. But the moment you just let it all go, I mean, I think I called them button pushers, kind of derogatorily in a post, but I mean, it's kind of all you are is just a glorified button pusher. Like, what do you bring to the table now? Nothing.
Yeah, I read it somewhere where I probably can't say it the right way, but it was something around that, AI is an interface for what it learned for people, but now people are becoming an interface for AI, really.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really what
It's true.
happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember it was Sam Altman that said that, but he said people are starting to talk like AI, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But we've done this for ages too. I mean, if you look at how we design websites, I mean, it was all to fit the algorithm basically for SEO. So one could argue we've been trying to conform to algorithms actually for ages, and now it's human beings themselves who are trying to do that. It's fascinating.
Which
But
is,
you also,
yeah,
oh, what
sorry.
are you,
The thing about algorithm is probably one of the best benefit of AI that I see nowadays is because documentation helps AI learn better, people start appreciating it much more and started putting more
yeah,
effort into documentation.
this is very, very true.
You wanted to say something?
Well, I mean, so speaking of writing, right, and documenting learnings and so forth, you do have a blog, Data Gibberish,
Yes,
yeah,
correct.
and it's really good. Why do you write? Walk us through what is it first. What is Data Gibberish about, and then I'll get into your writing process.
Yeah, data gibberish just started as a place where I just started posting notes. I had a lot of notes that I collect every time, during my day. I collect notes. I actually write in notebooks like this one. So
Like which one? Oh, nice,
yeah,
old
it's a
school.
physical one. Yeah, exactly. I like that a lot. So collected a lot of notes and also started seeing that my team asked me a lot of repetitive questions during one-on-ones. So I decided, you know what? If they want to know that, maybe other people would struggle with the same question. So let me start, helping people. So that's how the whole thing started. And can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Yeah,
Awesome, great.
yeah.
So I started writing this blog, this publication. It's now a place where I help data engineers go beyond technicalities. I really wrote a lot of technical things, but now it's a more uh I don't know, more of a to me is it's a publication that helps people understand how to talk to business stakeholders, how to strategize, their career, or how even, I work with a lot of consultants, so how to get those better contracts if you wish.
Hmm.
Uh, so that's what the publication is really about.
How does the non-technical content compare in engagement to the technical stuff that you did?
It's terrible, really. I know.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
because most people in
Let me
my
see here.
audience, if you wish, they data engineers are proper tech people. So all they care about is how to solve a problem, if you wish. Oh,
Yeah.
different tools or stuff like that. They rarely care about how to go beyond senior, if you wish. That's the main topic, what I write really about. So
Interesting.
I don't think from what I can see, people understand what needs to be. So that's my big mission. My mission is to help people realize that there is something more beyond tech. Like tech people learn these things. So I like this a lot, but in terms of engagement, it's not like that great, I would say.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm looking at your posts. Your top one is AWS for data engineers, conquer the cloud in 90 days. And then how I interview data engineers. That would be important to data engineers, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then a data engineer's guide to mastering system design. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, these good titles and a lot of the technical stuff. It is popular. Like I have friends who have whole YouTube channels and Substacks and so forth on data engineering. And yeah, that kind of content people, especially if there's just a greater population of junior engineers too, and they all want that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
Uncle Bob Martin had this great talk where he was in a uni and essentially asked people to raise hands based on how much experience they have. And it was an experiment, but basically showed his point where he says every 5 years, people in each technical industry essentially double in terms of numbers.
mm,
There's more and more people. It's fine. I'm to me, it's not about reaching out more people. It's about reaching out people who want to achieve something more. Well, not more, something different, really, than that.
yeah.
Because myself, I'm like that. I've been trained into technicalities to appreciate code, to appreciate all of these things. And when you go and talk to business stakeholders, there's just silence, really. They don't really understand you because you talk, if you wish, different languages. So, and when you want to achieve more, to, have bigger budget for something, more tools or anything like that, it's not really easy unless you start speaking their language.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it all started, really. But we're not getting trained into these things, really.
I was gonna say it's one of those things where I think the content that takes you up to senior, there's no shortage of that stuff, right? I mean, you could find that and your blog and my book and course and Zach Wilson stuff and pretty much anybody, right? Like there's no shortage of content out there. I mean, especially right now, you can look most of the stuff up on ChatGPT. To be frank, like it's you can figure out, you can learn anything you want. But yeah, you're absolutely right. There's very few books out there that teach you, because the next step, unfortunately, or fortunately for most people, is if you happen to be good enough at being technical, all of a sudden, for some reason, this magically means you're very good at managing people who are technical, right? This is just I think one of the big fallacies of the corporate world is that you're amazing at being a data engineer. How about you manage other data engineers? And it's like, cool. Have you ever thought that you would be a good manager? Do you think you'd be a good manager? Probably not. But unfortunately, that's the only career path for a lot of people, is you have to do that. There's very few companies have the technical track where you can become principal, staff, whatever. And so he's like, well, screw it. I'll just be, um, I guess, a manager. And then that means also you probably shouldn't be writing as much code, right? All the stuff that made you're technical and got you there is all of a sudden gone. And
Yeah,
there's
that's
nothing, like you
spot
say, to
on.
prepare anybody. Nobody teaches you how to talk to stakeholders. Nobody teaches you how to run meetings. This, that, or the other thing. Yeah, it's hard.
That's exactly my story, really. Somebody asked me to become a manager. I felt terribly. Got back to IC, to being an individual contributor. Learned all of these things by reading books, following the steps of some of my other senior people in the company, like learning exactly from them, asking them a lot of questions. It took me probably 1 or 2 more years to get this confidence. And yeah, that's how, I got back into management, if you wish.
Interesting. Wait, so you said you got hired your first job as a manager. You didn't like it.
It was absolutely terrible.
What
Yes.
happened?
Well, to me again, code was more important than anything else. I wasn't great with people, really, because suddenly I was responsible for more junior people, and instead of, if you wish, like being more empathetic, I cared only about code. I suddenly found that you can get involved into politics easily. That's something I hate. So nowadays, including, in this newsletter, in this blog, I also write a lot about that as well, how to not get involved into politics if you wish. So it was all of these things that I hate, really. It's not that every time I wanted something, including, hey, you know what? We don't have proper one-on-ones. We need to have these things. It always was more about how to deliver a project instead of helping people level up, really.
Mm. At work, do you carry your notepad around? Do you carry your notepad around at work, the one you showed me?
Yes,
Okay. And are you jotting down these ideas as you have them?
yes, yeah, that's exactly. So it helps a lot now.
That's cool. Then how much of that makes its way into an article?
Not a lot, really. Mostly because I guess I have more ideas than time to write, if you wish. Like publish a lot of these. That's why I even started thinking about posting more often, but it depends on time. So LinkedIn posting helps a lot. Like,
Yeah,
you can jot those ideas, you can share those ideas in a shorter format. Yeah, I do write a lot.
that's cool.
A lot more in the notebook.
Yeah, I do the same thing. And LinkedIn's good for testing out posts. I feel like the recent changes to the algorithm are make it a bit harder to compare, just because engagement universally is down for like everybody right now on LinkedIn. Um, yeah, but then there's weird things. Like I made a post the other day, it was a couple weeks ago, and that thing got like 500,000 views, and it wasn't even that good. I was like, this is random. I think something broke because this isn't even that good of a post. There's no way. So I think something broke with how they shared it because there's no way this is that. But then the one after that got like I don't know 20 or something or engagements or something, not views, but like so it's weird. But yeah, I absolutely agree. And the thing I don't know if you do this, but like with my phone, I do a lot of voice to text. So as I'm on a walk, I'll just write an article or at least get the ideas into a written form, and then I just go back through and edit it.
Yeah, that sometimes happens. For me, writing is more about I have now for my newsletter, I have all the articles planned for the next year. So I
Oh wow,
literally know
yeah,
exactly what I want to write. So, it's much easier with articles
that's cool.
with short posts. It's more of an queue, if you wish.
Like you just get triggered by something, and you're like, I'll just write
Yeah.
about it. It happens. I've been trying to do that too, like shorter posts. 'Cause I used to write these like 1 to 2,000 word monstrosities, and I was like, this is. But then the newsletter also had like these links and everything else, kind of. So it just became like this giant wall of stuff. I'm like this, yeah, whatever. So we'll just break this all up. Like, so now there's no newsletter that has events and links and all that kind of crap, and like maybe a short rant and then a longer rant, and that seems to fit pretty perfect. Then you're not forcing yourself to like make this giant project every week, right? Like as I think as inspiration arises, and you can just write about it because there's a lot happening right now, and I think sometimes you just want to find inspiration in the moment and just write about what's happening because there's no shortage of things to be writing about. It's
Oh yeah, right. My wife, she knows nothing about my work really, like literally
perfect.
nothing. And she was like that, how do you plan to write, so much? At some point you'll run out of ideas. It's quite the opposite actually. I don't know. There's a lot to write about, really.
What's capturing your attention right now?
Uh, Aside from these things with AI, you mean?
Yeah, just kind of in general. Like what are you looking at?
Yeah, I think, these things with how the industry is changing really in data, I mean. I'm glad we are past this modern data stack euphoria,
Mm,
and we can definitely see things are maturing a lot, We can see a lot of these acquisitions happening all the time. It's both exciting because, you don't really know what would happen unless, you look into other industries. But it's also sometimes a bit of sad because, you like a tool because it's different and then it gets acquired.
yeah,
So I hope not everything would be, just like Salesforce, big, massive platforms that really innovate, really. That's what I'm looking to. It will change the industry a lot. It means there's a lot of appetite for data. It's not like, again, with the modern data stack a few years ago where everything was free and open source, and then you have some paid services which charge a lot. It's growing. It's definitely maturing a lot.
Did you have a favorite stack back in the peak modern data stack days?
Well, I suppose Chan, DBT, Snowflake, all these things. Yeah, Monte Carlo was one of these. What else? I don't know. Looker, I liked it a lot back then.
Looker's
Uh,
great.
yeah. No, I don't know. It doesn't feel like they innovate. Not that they don't innovate, but yeah, I don't know what will happen. Since Google acquired them, it feels like yeah, it's probably almost like a finished product. So they just add things, small things here and there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I normally don't talk about vendors on my show, but I know that I was a big Looker fan. I mean, I'm a big Looker user and partner of theirs actually. And one of the things that really made Looker great was their customer team, actually the customer success team. You go into the Looker office in Santa Cruz, and it was this team of highly competent and very kind and caring individuals answering customer questions, and they could figure anything out in Looker. I think these people on their own would be amazing analysts, probably, just because they're technically very great. And then when Google bought them, that team was gone, and I think that was a crying shame because it was sort of the heart and soul of the company, what made the company really unique against all the faceless companies that just like you work with Google, for example, right? GCP, you have to send in an email or whatever, and Lord knows if you even get routed to the right person or ever hear back. Everything's very automatic, right? I had a friend who got laid off from GCP actually, and he said his entire process of getting fired and was all done on email. He never talked to a person about anything.
Wow,
Yeah, it's like turn in your laptop here, this stuff over here, and have a nice day. Bye.
wow,
Yeah,
that's
even the notice getting laid off was like email. Didn't talk to anybody the whole time. So that's just how it is. But it's reflected in the product. Like Looker was, I think, a great product. It probably still is. I haven't seen it in a bit, but it just feels like, for me, when I look at products, it's not just the technical capabilities, but does it make me happy to use it? Do I like
yes,
using it? Right?
yeah,
And it feels like that's gone.
yeah. I like that idea a lot. That's really if it makes me happy with Looker or other tools that I
Mhm.
mentioned, it's more about okay, I understand. When I see it, I kind of I know I can talk to actual people. It is really good, especially when those companies are smaller and they're very open to talk to you. Even sometimes, if you ask them about the underlyings about these
Mhm.
tools, sometimes they'll share some details. Obviously not all the details, but
Right.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. It's fun, and it feels like that was definitely a point in time. I felt like the modern data stack era. I mean, hopefully the equivalent comes back. I guess if interest rates keep, if they go any lower, we might see the second coming of it.
It's quite possible. From maybe I'm wrong, but from the way I see it, it feels like all the innovation usually come in data, I mean, come from smaller companies, which then get acquired by those bigger companies. So I don't think we'll run short out of small companies, and probably at some point we'll see something, a bunch of different those companies that build these more like modern data stack thing, modern data stack too.
Yeah, it does make me wonder what kind of the future of interfaces look like too, because the big tech companies, for example, right? A lot of them are model providers as well, and so they're almost becoming utility companies in that sense, where they own the infrastructure that you use for obviously what we've used it forever, serving, storage, compute, whatever. But now models as well. You can count OpenAI and Anthropic in that, and so but then the interfaces are changing. I don't know how much you played with MCP, but to me that feels, yeah. I mean, I mean, for me, I feel most comfortable just usually in Claude actually, or whatever interface I have, and just chatting with whatever I want to chat with. But it's amazing all the stuff it can do behind the scenes, and I hook it up to the apps. I would say probably 25% of my time to 30% is actually just talking to my apps through MCP and never actually interacting with them at all anymore, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I happened to start hating UI, because
Yeah.
you open your phone, for example, you have tons of apps. Whereas, why do you need them? Let's say, you want to see a calendar event, so you need a specific app for that. You want to read your email, you need a specific app for that. Whereas now with MCPs and all of these things, I even, started building something for myself.
Yeah,
Instead of having all of these things, maybe I can hook them to all of these and make like a VA if you wish or something like that. You don't even need an interface. You need like, a simple chat box.
that's
That's
all it
really,
is. Yeah, there was one instance a couple months ago. I was testing out this company's product, and it was they were a ETL company, and they had MCP, and I was like, let's just see what this could do. And I thought, geez, I can ask analytical type questions, like in this case, give me a market segmentation report and some data in BigQuery, and that was cool. And I thought, well, this what do I need a BI tool for? I mean, I'm sure I need one, but it did quite a few things that I just interface directly with the the data warehouse in this case. So it just experience like this are just causing me to like walk down the road, on a daily basis, kind of wonder like, what is the nature of apps going forward? I don't know. What does the ecosystem look like? Is it all just stuff behind the scenes, and what's the revenue model in this case? Right? Is it just pay per task, or what is it? It's wild.
yeah, it is. I guess about this vendor, about this product, the question is if they can export data to Excel. But yeah,
Yeah, that's a big one. I don't. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Like recently, Anthropic and Office 365 now have a collab too. So I'm very curious to see what that looks like.
yeah. It's I don't know. With AI, the things are moving too fast. Like if you try to follow everything, that's what I found. You can almost like burn out if you try to follow all the news, all the new models, all the new
Oh, it's
capabilities.
impossible.
Yeah, definitely. It's quite hard, really.
But the other thing I'm noticing too is actually like just regular business users are all using AI too, and like that's I think the cool thing is like typically with data it would be nerds like you and me doing data stuff, and now it seems everybody is using AI, non-technical people, quote unquote. So recently I was out at a company just showing them here's MCP and how you could tie your Microsoft Office together and basically I rework all your workflows if you wanted to, so you could have Azure DevOps or they keep to SharePoint to Outlook and all these workflows. And like, holy crap, this is so cool because this would have taken us hours
Yeah,
to do it. Now we can just do it. I'm like, yeah, so you just got rewire everything. It's dope.
yeah. I've seen the same thing with, for example, finance analytics team. Well, it's not a data team, but FP&A team, and they had all their forecasts in Excel spreadsheets, a lot of manual work and whatnot. They just hooked everything into AI and OpenAI and MCPs. Everything worked very, very well. Initially, I was like,
Perfect.
okay, but why do you need AI for this? It's a simple automation. But then the thing with AI is that it gives those people who know nothing about tech, so to speak, achieve results very quickly.
Hmm.
So that's the big thing. Yeah, it's quite cool. Really. I like. I don't know. You wrote about this recently in your newsletter, where you said you're both excited and skeptic at the same time. So I feel
Yeah,
the same.
I mean, you can be both.
Yeah.
I mean, people like you and me, I think it's. I don't know about you. I'd love to get your take on this. I know for myself, AI has meant that I can approach the same problems differently and maybe rethink the problem in general in terms of how it would be solved. And I think that's dope. It means I can move a lot faster at either coming to a solution or coming to a mistake, which will also help me hopefully get to a solution or realize there's no solution to a problem. That's also possible. So it's super fun, and that's I think it just the speed of iteration, the feedback loop is shorter, which makes it fun. But I don't know what do you think? I mean, you're excited but skeptical. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's to me it's I'm very excited about the same thing as you said. You can do a lot of things quicker. Failing fast is important actually. Uh Neglect that, but it's a massive benefit to fail fast. I'm skeptical mostly about people sometimes try to do rely too much on it. As in, hey, you know what? Just hook AI into our data and it would work. I recently talked to somebody. They are trying to hire a head of AI. They don't even have proper data engineering team or data team at all. So that their data is extremely scattered. So I'm skeptical about, what this can achieve, because I don't think it will be able to achieve, at least soon, what people think. You just hook it into to all of our tools and to do the magic. I don't think that would happen really soon.
Yeah, it's a bit harder than just like having ChatGPT in your office. So yeah, and yeah, I mean, back to the example that yeah, one of the companies I talked to is like, yeah, somebody said that sometimes when they use AI, it takes them a lot longer to actually use it than it is just to get the task done. Just because the AI doesn't have the context of the business and doesn't have a context of the domain it's trying to work in, so it just makes shit up, and you know that's not great, and so it just means it's more work for people. And so I think that also means they get skeptical. They're like, well, yeah, but it in this case here, it caused me to do more work. Therefore, all of AI sucks, actually. And I think that's the impression people get is it, part of it, I feel like people are threatened by AI, so they want to find any excuse that they can to say, it's garbage, it sucks, get this thing out of my way, right? But it doesn't help when the AI supports their argument that, yeah, it sucks, it gets in their way.
Definitely not. A friend of mine who is an illustrator, they were among the people who were the most vocal against AI. Now told me they're actually hiring more people because, AI makes them more productive. It helps them brainstorm ideas, but then they still, need more people to produce more product.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I guess, it's also about the business, if it helps, why should you lay off people? Why you
Hmm.
should downscale if you wish, if you can actually take more work and hire more people to deliver more faster.
Yeah. And what's the sense? I mean, you're in Europe. I'm in the U.S. Like, what is the adoption of AI where you live and work?
I don't think there's a company that doesn't use AI really for anything. It's
Got it.
it's massive. It's massive, including in the company where I work for. It's almost mandatory to have things like Cursor, or even myself, I pay for Warp, the terminal, because I'm old. But yeah, it's everywhere, really. I don't think I know a single person who is not using it to a certain capacity in their job, really.
Dang, that's cool.
It's cool. Uh, yeah, it's cool actually. Because I know specifically from what I've read, you can tell me more, but it feels like, specifically in the US, it affects a lot of jobs. It's not a fact here in Bulgaria yet, but I don't know about the rest of the world, really.
Oh, what do you mean?
Like it feels, from what I can see, it's also economical, but a lot of people get laid off, and it's much harder to find a job nowadays. Some people blame AI. I don't know if it's just that. It's complicated, really.
I don't think. I mean, if you so the U.S. Census recently had the numbers on AI adoption in the types of companies that they look at. I can't remember what types of companies it was, maybe mid to large enterprises or something. But the adoption rate was at 14%, or it actually dropped to 12% of firm, right? And so need to dig into the numbers, but it was like these numbers are being captured. But even if you, okay, who cares? 12, 14, 16%. It doesn't matter. It's still a low adoption number, no matter how you slice it. It doesn't, it's just, that's not. So for me, I can't, again, I would need to dig into the numbers and kind of suss it out. But just broadly, you couldn't say universally that AI is responsible for wiping out jobs when you have that low of an adoption rate. It doesn't
Yeah,
make any sense,
definitely.
right? Unless the entire population worked at those specific companies, those 12%, which they don't, right? So, but then on the flip side, you also have people like Mark Benioff, who recently said that Salesforce, replaced 4,000 customer support agents, I believe, with AI agents. So it's one of these things where I am not sure which is correct. I think the census is right, Actually, I think their numbers are good. These people hopefully know what they're doing. They don't have an agenda per se. They're just there to report the numbers. But there's definitely a lot of companies out there that have architectures, and AI agents is the one they're trying to sell. Of course, they're going to tell. I mean, if you're a CEO and you say we replace our own workforce with AI agents, how many do you want to buy for your company? Right? That's like so. I feel it feels like a lot of that where there's definitely a press release within the press release.
Yeah.
To find out more about how you can do this at your company, just email us. It's great. So, but in the U.S., yeah, I mean, there's a lot of trepidation, but we also have a lot of things happening in our economy. We have the tariffs. You have just an overvalued stock market. You have bond prices, which are a bit nuts right now. And so all these things, if I'm a business person, which I thankfully only run a business of one right now, I do not want employees. But for business owners, I know nobody's out there saying, let's, go full steam ahead and hire. There's too much uncertainty right now in the market. Like you're going to stay put and just work on the things that are you need to focus on. You might hire a couple of people, but it's not like you're going gangbusters and hiring everybody at this point. It makes no sense. But what I am seeing anecdotally or a pickup in engineering job postings right now, and these seem to be legitimate. And so, I'm seeing this in software engineering and lesser in data, but more software engineers, it feels like are getting hired. I'm seeing this with my friends who are saying the same thing. So who knows? I mean, there's also the notion of ghost jobs, which I don't know if you have those over there, but people will just make job postings just to make their companies look like they're growing, even though they might not be.
Yeah.
And so that does happen, but yeah. But it seems like you can't really. I don't think that I just don't think we're that far along in the AI story to say that it is responsible for, um, like largely responsible. I think maybe in software engineering you could perhaps because coding tools maybe make people more productive, therefore you don't need to hire. But again, I just don't know what it shows. The numbers show. There's some various surveys that show that coding tools are in fact at least affecting the junior job market, perhaps.
Yeah, yeah. That I don't know. For example, where I work, we I don't think it affects software engineering at all, really. We definitely hire some people here and there, but it's far from saying, hey, you know what, it can replace people.
Right. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like Bulgaria is one of the places where is there a lot of software engineering activity going on right now?
It is, yeah. A lot of
Yeah.
big companies have offices here, including the company I work for. It's a British one, and the team I lead is mostly in the UK.
Interesting.
There's a lot. The problem is the countries, in terms of population, is very small. Like the entire population is about 6 million people. So,
Mm.
you know, the percentage of software engineers, data engineers, all these people would be very low. So, not a lot of people really. The market is not that big.
Yeah. But it is known for having a lot of good engineers, though. I'd say it's the kind of Eastern Europe in general just is. I've had a lot of Western European friends say too, the East just feels like it's where Europe's going. That's or at least the impressions I get from engineers in Western Europe. It just feels like people in the Eastern Europe, they're hungry, they're all well educated, they can write great code, they know what they're doing. It's again massive stereotype, of course, and massive generalization, but that is what I've heard anecdotally at least.
I think it's the same, really. I mean, I don't think there's a massive difference in terms of,
Mm.
experience or anything like that. There was this big difference in salaries, really, up until
That's a big
a
one.
few years. Now, Eastern Europe is picking up with the rest of the continent, so there's
Mm.
not that massive, pay gap, if you wish. So I don't think, it would be that different in terms of, how many people work in the industry or how attractive it is.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I remember way back in the day, it must have been almost 15 years ago. This is back when you needed to find PhDs if we were good at machine learning. The US didn't really have as many. So we found a few people, I think it was Romania, we found them, and ended up being really, really good. It's funny because you had to scour the globe for somebody who's like both cost effective and good. That was hard.
Yeah. No, it still does make sense. The big thing with remote working, I've been working remotely for the last 8 years, I would say.
Mm,
And that's the good thing. You can find people no matter where they live. You're not limiting yourself. So that's a big.
right. That's super cool. Kind of closing out, like, what are you excited about over the next year?
That's a hard question. What I'm excited is, I suppose it's really what would happen with development the data. What I mean is, from my point of view, what happened in the last few years is that data people and businesses they stopped talking at some point. I don't know why and how, but at some point things got more distant. Now it feels like, I hate when people say that, but data people started talking more about value for the business.
Yeah,
It's not exactly how I see it, but they started understanding why they do what they do more. So started talking more to into the same language, if you wish. So what I'm excited about is to see how all these new developments, tooling, and all of that would help closing the gap in terms of how people interact. How the way I see it is how data people sell their work, if you wish.
that'll be curious. I'm curious how that works too.
I don't know if that made a lot of
No, it
sense.
does. I mean, it does. And well, I think the more widespread use of AI too is one of these things where, like, for me personally, I don't know how these, the business and the tech people, align or don't align or what that looks like. But it feels like we're sort of in the middle of figuring that out right now.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly.
for people who want to learn more about you or find you online, how can they find you?
LinkedIn, find my name. I'm there. Post I post there almost every day. As you mentioned, I
Nice.
have my newsletter, but LinkedIn is the best way to connect, DM me, and so on. I love connecting with people.
That's super cool.
But definitely don't message me to review your AI startup.
Don't get me started. You get those messages then? Yeah. Anyway, I want to be nice. Like I swear, I do want to be nice, but at the same time, it's just there's just a lot. Yeah. Anyway, well, Jordan, it's been great seeing you. Hope to see you around somewhere in the world.
I hope Big Data London. I suppose you're going there as well.
Rumor has it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I suppose there.
I mean, I'm on their I'm on the roster. I should show up, so we'll probably see you there. So this might be posted after Big Data London, but yeah, I think the information will still be relevant. So awesome, dude. Well, have a good night. We'll
You
talk
too.
to you soon. All
Thank you.
right,
It
take
was a
care. Bye.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Bye bye.